Don't touch that dial. You're tuned in to the Dread Podcast Network.
Welcome to Development Hell. For every horror movie that hits V.O.D, countless others end up D.O.A. Development Hell is the podcast dedicated to unearthing these cursed horror productions. We're going to find out what went wrong, and then decide if these titles still stand a shot at the green light. I am your host, Josh Korngut. I am the managing editor of Dread Central. I am also a filmmaker in Toronto, Canada. This podcast is a proud member of the Dread Podcast Network. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Development Hell. Today's a very special day in the kingdom. Why do you ask? Well, it's Wes Craven's birthday. And to celebrate the birthday of our king, we're going to take a bit of a detour down the lane to an unmade sequel to what I would say is his darkest film. Today, we are going to be talking about the unmade sequel to The Last House on the Left. He did write a script, and we're going to get into that later. We are joined today by a very special returning guest judge. We have with us Samantha White. She was with us previously on an episode about Bride of Frankenstein, and we're very excited to have her back. Sam, how's it going?
Hello. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Oh my God, we're so excited to have you back. For those that don't know, which is probably most people, Sam is one of my best friends in the entire world and frequent creative collaborator. Would you agree with both of those titles?
I would agree with both of those titles. I think they are equally indicative of my abilities and what I bring to this world.
For those that maybe don't remember you, and how dare they, can you do me a favor of reintroducing yourself to the Development Hell audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a writer, editor.
Very good at reining in my writing, and a very beautiful creative on her own right. So Sam, you know, we brought you in for a pretty dark topic today. I'm just wondering, before we get into the nitty-gritty, what is your personal relationship with The Last House on the Left?
Well, could I start you with my personal relationship to Wes Craven? Because I found something else out when I was doing a little scroll through his filmography. Would you like to know or guess the first Wes Craven movie that I ever saw?
Oh my God, I absolutely would love to guess, because I don't know. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of factors to consider, like your age, our era, when you were what. Okay, so I'm going to say this is probably.
I think I'm going to also help you, and I'm going to say that it's worth knowing or worth remembering, because you know this, Joshua, my friend, but of course the audience doesn't know this, that I also only watched the entire Scream franchise within the last year.
I was not going to guess Scream. I was
Yes.
not. Oh, I think I got it. I think I have it. But I probably don't. But if I do, it's very funny. Music of the Heart.
No, but I wish. I did see that and was so confused.
I don't think a lot of these old-timer horror directors were comfortable with their horror label.
Right.
And that was where that came from. Okay, so I really wish I was right with that one, but I'm not. Okay, do I get one more shot?
You get one more shot, and I believe same era. I could be walking you down the wrong path, but I believe same era.
Holy... Oh, okay. I have it. One more guess. I've got one more goose in the booze. And that is it called Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy?
I think it is, but that was not it.
All right, what is it?
It was, of course, Red Eyes, starring Rachel McAdams and Cillian Murphy. I saw that in theaters. I will never forget the pen stab in the trachea. It'll stay with me forever. So thank you.
Is the trachea like your collarbone?
It's like your esophagus area, I believe. Maybe it's into the esophagus, but I thought it was trachea.
And she got him, right?
Yes, she gets him. Yes, because she realizes while on this plane
Mhm.
that he's been kind of like stalking her and all that.
No
I
good.
enjoyed Red Eye, to be honest with you.
Oh, Red Eye, I believe, like, well-loved classic.
Canadian
Well,
Queen at the.
Canadian Queen
As we're gonna talk about more. Oh no, are they? Sarah Paxton's not Canadian. She just does a ton of Canadian stuff,
I
right?
don't think she's Canadian, but I think I told you blatantly that she was Canadian.
That sounds right.
I think Martha McIsaac is the
Yes, she
Canadian,
is. She
and
is.
and we are going to get into her a little bit. So that was your first relationship with Wes Craven, Red Eye,
Yes,
pretty classic. Ooh, do I get to say my first relationship with Wes Craven now that we're getting into it?
absolutely. You should. It is. You're
Oh
toasting the
my
king
god!
on his birthday.
Happy birthday, King. We love you. Um, I don't know. To be honest with you, it's probably Scream. Might have been A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm guessing one of those first two. I think I saw Scream pretty early.
That would
So
make sense for our childhood, our era,
our oeuvre. I mean, the first
our
horror
era, our
movie,
oeuvre. Yeah,
our
absolutely.
oeuvre, our ourselves. I think the first. I know the first horror movie I ever saw was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Fans of this podcast might remember me saying that many times.
I don't
Yeah,
think I knew that that was your first one, to be
it
honest with you.
it was, yes,
Oh.
and I think it says a lot. So we love Wes Craven. I think we'll talk about him a little bit more down the lane. But I'm wondering, with this movie, had you seen it before we tackled it for this episode?
So I had seen the original version once about a year ago,
Mhm.
and I mean, I don't know how much we want to go into it yet, but I surprisingly really I don't want to say really liked it for a movie like this because I feel like that's a little
Problem?
uh yes, a little
Problem in the
terse.
attic? Yeah.
Yes, problem in the attic, absolutely. And there are no flowers in there. Um
None. They're dead.
but yes, so I enjoyed the film more than I was expecting to, certainly.
Mhm, mhm. I
And
remember that.
yeah, we fought about it a little bit, I
I was
think.
gonna ask you to bring it up, and I am just so
Yeah.
proud of you for doing that on your own accord. Yeah, yeah. So, what was my reaction when you came to me, your horror friend, as a non-horror person yourself, and said, "I saw Last House on the Left, and I liked it."
Well, I think you were surprised, and then I think like we are talking about it, we were getting into the reasons of why I appreciated it, if
Uh
not
huh.
liked it. It's also very side note, it's very fascinating to look at the letterboxd reviews for this movie. I don't know if you did,
I've never
but they
have.
are all like 3.5, 4.5 stars, or half star or 1 star. Like they are.
Oh,
It is
polar.
so polarized, which makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense, obviously.
Yep.
Um,
This is the polar
yeah,
vortex.
so I think you were surprised that I liked it. I think I went at you with like well, you haven't seen it since you were 12. Maybe you should watch it again. And then
What's
you
your
did
favorite?
not love me telling you to approach a horror
No,
movie again. So,
no.
which is fair.
How dare a non-horror person, give me feedback, right? Like, how dare that be
Well,
your move?
of course, feedback in general. I
Yeah,
mean, ugh,
not appreciated.
no.
No, and I think part of my appallment was that like, I'm your horror person, I'm your man. You should be coming to me for recommendations, and you're not, which is like, okay,
I
disrespectful.
do. I watch a lot of horror stuff
Mhm.
with
Uh-huh,
you.
uh-huh, and then what made it worse is, it's like, this is what you're picking? Like, out of all of the classiques, out of all of the fun, like,
Well, I
iconic.
like fun. I had been, to be fair,
Mhm,
I had been
mhm.
doing a run of like very early slashers that are super fun, super campy, and I was loving those too.
Mhm. Yeah, but they're always a little off kilter in ways that I don't appreciate, like
That's
Sleepaway
what I
Camp.
like about them. That's what I like about them.
No. But that's okay. We're all our own men. We're all our own
Listen,
women.
I don't. I acknowledge the issues inherent in both of those movies, of which there are many.
Oh,
But
of
I
course.
think that, I mean, Last House on the Left more so than Sleepaway Camp. I'm not gonna say this for Sleepaway Camp, but I think like at least with Last House on the Left, I found the lens to be correct. I found that like what was trying to be said and shown was being done effectively, and I think that is what got me. I mean,
Mm,
beyond the 90-minute runtime or less than 90-minute runtime, which
I
I'm a sucker for.
and who isn't? It's just such a beautiful gift to your audience.
It is indeed.
I agree with you on some fronts, and I disagree with you on other fronts. I have to say, I stand proudly with my 12-year-old self still after this rewatch. This is not the reason I'm coming to horror movies. They're, yeah, like, nothing fun is going on here. There is a lot of mean spiritedness afoot. Um, and the satisfaction that I think, presents itself with the final act is just not the satisfaction I'm seeking in my genre. So I think it's not so much a fact of I don't think this is a good film, because I think it's kind of hard to argue that it's not. It's
Mm.
just it's just truly not for me.
A difference for me is I'm not I knew I wasn't coming into this to have fun, for sure. Like, this wasn't me showing up to, like, a theater for, like,
Uh-huh.
an experience in the same way that I would with, like, or that I did even to go see Nope last week.
Yeah, the genre is precious for me, and that's why I'm like looking for it to not truly tear me in half. And I think
Hmm.
when it does, it's kind of like, I don't know, this is going too far. I think it's going too far for me. This film goes too far for me. It teeters in the world of like true exploitation, and that just like I stop enjoying myself, and I stopped enjoying myself, you know, right away in this film.
Yeah.
And then that long, prolonged segment in the woods where he makes her pee herself, and it's going to be as bad as possible. And none of these people, like, I like to like my villains. I think one of the reasons
Mm.
why Craven's like one of his most successful works, or actually all of his successful works, you root for the villain. You love Freddy. You love even Ghostface. These
Mm.
are charismatic characters. Like, these are people that you can root for even though they're doing terrible things. And that just doesn't happen with Last House on the Left.
Yeah, maybe this is a good movie, but it's not like a good horror movie, if that makes sense. Like, it
I
is a
love
good
that.
horror movie, but like it's not doing the things necessarily that a horror movie should do to be what a horror movie is, I
I
guess.
actually, it doesn't even feel like a horror movie to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any of the beats. There's no spookiness. There's no jump scare. There's really no, like, that level of atmosphere. It's just kind of
Mhm.
like gritty realism
Oh, I
followed
felt
by
atmosphere.
violence. There was
Yeah.
atmosphere, yes, but not like yeah, not like a
Not
spooky atmosphere.
ambiance.
Yeah,
Atmosphere,
yeah,
but not ambiance, maybe. I don't know if
atmosphere but not
that's
ambience. My friend Samantha, would you mind
Yes.
if I gave a bit of a seminar on the original Last House on the Left?
I would absolutely love nothing more than for you to do that.
So, for people at home that need a bit of a reminder, Last House on the Left is from 1972, and as I was saying, it is an exploitation horror film from our dear friend Wes Craven, who wrote, direct, and edited this project as his very first film. Did you know this was his very first feature?
I did. I did know
Hmm.
it was his very first feature, but I did not know that he did the whole kit and caboodle,
He
even
did.
edited it.
Yes,
Interesting.
he did, which is interesting. He produced it alongside Sean S. Cunningham, and that is another very iconic name in the landscape of horror. This is the guy that brought us the first Friday the 13th film. So this is an interesting early collaboration between two people that would go on to be maybe the most influential voices in 80s horror. The film follows our character of Mary Collingwood, as played by Sandra Peabody. She is what I believe is supposed to be depicting as a fairly average hippie teenager of her generation. She goes out with one of her friends on the eve of her birthday and runs into a group of, like, savage criminals who abduct them, take them to the woods, torture them, humiliate them, rape them, and brutally murder them. after this ordeal, uh, by the luck of God, they find their way to Mary's house where they spend the night. And Mary's parents realize that they have murdered their daughter, and they brutally murder the four of them, or I think the three of them, maybe even just two of them. I'm not 100% certain.
I think one
For
dies kind of
revenge.
early, and then
The
the
boy
rest are murdered. Yeah.
who kills himself, I think, right? Shoots himself in
Oh,
the head.
does he? I forgot.
Well, his crew is like, shoot yourself in the head, and then I think he does. So that was sad.
Oh, yeah. It is
And
very
that,
sad. Much
yeah,
more effective than what they do with sad emo boy
in
in
the
the
remake,
remake.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited to talk to you about the remake because I assigned
Get
you to
ready.
rewatch it, and I haven't seen it since 2009, but I remember really enjoying it. Um, I'm excited for your thoughts. So, yeah, that's the basic rundown for what this film was about. Craven has said on multiple occasions that the inspiration for this is the 1960s Swedish film The Virgin Spring, directed by who else? Ingmar Bergman. And it has a very similar setup. Basically, I don't know, to my understanding, it's exactly the same. Although I do believe, like the young innocent member of the gang gets like terribly brutally murdered in that one. So yeah, Craven originally wrote this screenplay to be overtly pornographic, and I believe there is, no, and I believe Wes Craven actually comes from a background of pornography. Like he had directed porn prior to this. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah. Our dear friend cut his teeth, shall we say, in the porno biz, and you kind of see it with this movie.
You
So,
definitely see it at least in I mean, for
mhm,
obvious reasons you see it, but also in the very like guerrilla 70s vibe of it all.
where everything just kind of looked like porn back then. It's kind of impossible not
Mhm.
to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Though when they were going to camera and when they were auditioning their actors, they made a conscious choice to change it to just strict horror, and I think that was a good move. Um, yeah, this movie was kind of bad for Wes Craven's career early on. It
Hmm.
did make a good deal of money, or not a good deal, but it did make money. But it was so controversial, specifically because of its marketing, that it became difficult for Craven after this to get new work. I think the tagline for the film was "Can a movie go too far?" which is kind of genius. So yeah, this movie made 3 million buckaroos and only cost about
Whoop,
ninety
whoop,
thousand
whoop.
dollars to make. Yeah, so this must have been one of the more or most profitable horror films when it came out, and went on to become a bit of a classic. Um, it got bad reviews though. People were really confused about the intercutting of slapstick. People were really confused about the intercutting of slapstick comedy with like brutal scenes of humiliation and rape. How do you feel about
Another
that?
thing
Because
I was just gonna
yeah,
say, another thing that unfortunately really worked for me.
what?
Um, yes,
Ah.
it did because, well, part of the reason it worked was because the big doofuses in this movie, the people that we're laughing at mostly are the cops, are those stupid cop
Yes,
characters.
very
And
funny.
it actually gives this whole misconnections. Oh, if someone had just seen, it gives it some more weight because it
Yeah.
actually like gives the callousness of people like it
Hmm.
grounds it in something that's not just like, oh, if the butterfly wings had fluttered differently. It's like, no, most of
She's
the
right
time when this
there.
shit happens, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a million people who could have prevented it that are not just like passing narrowly by. They're staring right at it. Like,
Yeah. And like either
so
purposely ignoring or just like so incompetent that there's no way they can do anything. Yeah.
I thought that just disjointedness of tone kind of like, yeah, I don't know, it worked for me. Again, I would maybe go back to my argument of like, I think it's maybe what makes it a good movie, but not a good horror movie because
I actually love that. Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
creating something like visceral and I don't know, it's doing something interesting, even if it's not giving us the feeling that we want.
I have to say, I agree with you when it comes to the cop stuff. Like the slapstick comedy with the cops is effective, and it really highlights the political POV of this film. I just didn't appreciate it when it came to, the rape and the murder. Like it just was, it made it extra strange and almost like a little less respectful even of these characters. Oh, I loved the girls though. Maybe that is part of why I said I didn't love any in this movie. That's not true. The two hippie girls,
I
I don't know.
know.
They're just so
And
lovely.
their naturalism, I find like uh,
Yeah.
our girlies, Martha and Sarah, did a great job. But
It-
I feel like
yeah.
these original girls, the realism, the
Mm-hmm.
innocence isn't put on by like a close up on like her tank top as she's changing. It's like the innocent and the realism of like those two young girls is like very
Yeah.
felt, I think, and
Oh,
that's
it's
part
so
of what makes
real.
it so effective.
And they're not like working actors, I'm assuming. Like they're just kind of seem like probably real people. Well, I'm not saying Martha McIsaac is like Hollywood royalty, but they are clearly, union actors, Sarah and Martha,
Absolutely, yes,
which makes it a
raised
little
on sets for sure.
raised on sets and made it feel like it was just a little less dangerous, a little more contained. So, which is maybe why I liked the remake more. It did feel more like a movie, and that made it, less dangerous for me.
Oh, see, that's why I liked it less. That's exactly
Yep,
why I liked it less. Do you want to hear
and that's
my?
fair.
This could be. You could save this for later if you want me to redo it, but just because it goes into an analogy. But do you want to hear my analogy?
Yeah, I'd love it.
So, at first, when I was watching this remake, and again, you can take me back if we need to. I was like, okay, this is like the Disney animated version of the Grimm fairy tale. Like we are seeing like the the like bubbly like cartoon. We are seeing like everything work out in the world. Everyone's POV and intentions who we're supposed to care about are in the right place. We know that she is wounded and they're all sad because of the son dying, and thus it makes sense that their wounds would be even fresher, that they'd be driven to this at this time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so at first I thought, okay, this is like the Disney animated version of like the originals, like Grimm fairy tale. But then I thought,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is the Disney live action version because it's trying to correct things in weird ways, but its POV isn't fully correct. It's so glossy, it's a bit uncanny, but it's doing it's still telling the same story, but everything is a little weirdly off.
It's a little wonky and just not quite working, and a little too gloss.
Exactly. And a little too like 2020 energy.
And like getting TV budget, not movie budget ultimately.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
that's funny. While I have not revisited the remake since 2009, something about that sounds very possible. Yeah. Hilarious. I'd like to revisit it now. That makes me want to watch it more. I remember there being a song in the trailer for the remake that I was absolutely obsessed with. It was by a band called Taken by Trees, and it was this like indie girly cover of Sweet Child of Mine. Did they play it in the film? Does that sound familiar?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, it's so good. And remember that song with the whistling from when we were in university? Something Bjorn, and it doesn't matter.
Oh, like home? Oh, no. No. Yes, I know what you mean.
I think she was in that band.
Oh.
Since we're in the territory of the remake, I want to know a little bit more about it. Um, am I right to say this was Martha McIsaac and Sarah Paxton in the roles of the girls? Do you remember any of the other? Like, did anyone else look familiar to you?
Oh my gosh, everyone. So the funniest thing about this movie, it came out 2009, right? Yes,
Yeah.
2009. And it is like a who's who of like 2010s-ish TV stars. We've got Aaron Paul, who Breaking
Oh
Bad
yeah.
started just a year before that. So and he gets the death in the movie, I think, like the big
The
one.
microwave?
The garburator.
Okay.
It takes him a
Cool.
long time. The microwave is our like
Main
last
guy.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Garrett Dillahunt. Oh boy. I always want to say Garrett Hedlund, and I know it's not. I know it's not Garrett Hedlund. Anyways,
I believe you.
Monica Potter is our mommy.
Oh. Okay. I see Sarah Paulson in my brain.
No, so Monica Potter is from 2010's Parenthood, the TV show Parenthood. So that is where she came in, and she's doing what she does best, which is her big eyes well up with tears out of fear for her daughter's safety and overall happiness. That is what that woman does best.
Good for her.
And then there's Tony Goldwyn as the dad who played the president on Scandal. Like, in 2012. So this was like right as these like TV people who were all honestly probably nominated for Emmys within like a couple years of this. Yeah, we're in this movie. And then of course I'm a big comedy person, so I love seeing Ricky Lindholm in there. Although, I mean, talk about exploitation. Poor Ricky Lindholm is so unnecessarily topless for so much of this movie.
Oh, Ricky.
Yeah. But everyone did a good job. And Sarah Paxton and Martha McIsaac, I don't want to skip over. They did great. Unfortunately, I don't remember Sad Boy's son.
I don't know who that would have been, but maybe he doesn't need a name. Martha McIsaac and Sarah Paxton, for someone that just rewatched it, were their demises as brutal as the original? Because it was brutal.
Sarah Paxton doesn't die, which I don't love. She lives, which is like, ugh. And Sad Boy lives. So it's like they both make it to safety, which is a little lame to me.
Is it because he like kind of because in the original he kind of saves her, right?
Yes, he kind of fails at saving her. He does give he gives Daddy the gun. He gives Tony Goldwyn the gun.
Damn.
Which is nice. But yeah. So Martha McIsaac's death is pretty brutal. And honestly, the rape scene I was not expecting it to be as brutal as it was in this remake. It's really brutal. It's really long. It's really uncomfortable. So
that's like the one thing they didn't need to do.
I know.
The one thing
they didn't kill her. They kept her alive.
Sarah Paxton's the one that gets assaulted. Oh,
yes, she gets raped. Yeah, pretty brutally.
I guess that aligns with what happens in the characters in the Ridge. How does Martha McIsaac get it?
Well, she gets it just worse in general. Like she gets.
I meant by murder. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's multiple stabs. Like the last, like what finally gets her is like multiple stabs because she like talks back to Garrett Dillahunt and is like, "You're pathetic." Or something.
Oh, Martha! Yeah. I've seen her in a live stage production of Our Town.
Wow.
Also,
well, unfortunately, she's not blonde, so she couldn't live.
That's true. And I think that oscillates every 10 years or so in horror. Either blonde you live or blonde you die, and it's one or the other. And I think right now we're in flux. Couldn't tell you. Well, we don't see blondes in cinema anymore. They don't exist. So. Like there wasn't was there a single blonde in Scream 5 other than Judy Hicks and her son? I don't think so. I don't think there was.
No, but if you go that far, I mean, we hit Midsummer, we get Flossie, we get Tony with Hereditary, we get some blondes, not too far.
I don't know if I want to count A24. I don't know if I'm gonna
you get to decide that, unfortunately.
I think that I do. So yeah, overall thoughts about this remake.
I mean, like, I feel like my
your analogy, which was hilarious, but kind ultimately.
Not kind, and that's important, I think.
To the truth of the matter.
Listen, it did. I also want to say, and no shade to Martha McIsaac, because I think she did a fine job in this. I think she really did a good job. I do think the movie starts to sail once she dies.
Well, that's good for her. Oh no, reverse of good for her. That's bad for her.
Reverse of good for her. Although she was super charming. Again, not a knock against her. It was more so a pacing thing. Um, it's also was
Mhm.
funny to me just because of when we're watching this, how much more of a summer movie this one is. Like, it's very like, this is our lake house that we go to for the summer.
Did you see in my outline how I spelt Martha McIsaac?
Yeah, I did.
I literally was like not looking and I didn't go back because you're so close, so much my friend. I thought she gets a trash outline, and that's what I gave you.
I love it.
Thank
I'm here
you.
for your trash.
Kind of wish I had rewatched it, but that's okay. I rewatched the original because I hadn't seen that since I was 12, and I feel bad. I don't feel worse. I don't feel better having watched it. I feel worse.
Really, eh? Damn.
As a no, not no. I don't mean I like it less. I
No, I
feel
know.
worse. I
Emotionally
feel
worse.
I feel gross. Yeah. Which you know what? I was not expecting that. I was expecting to think this is from 1972. This movie is silly. No,
I mean,
it's
I
gross.
guess that is what I will say. Like, and again, keeping in mind my maybe it's a good movie, but not a good horror movie. Like,
Uh huh. Uh
I
huh.
just
Uh huh.
isn't that what seeing this is supposed to make you feel? It's uncomfortable, and yeah, I guess I don't know, as I was watching the Sarah Paxton rape scene, which is also just as brutal. I won't say just as because I've not seen the 70s one
Mm-hmm.
directly, so I don't want to directly compare them. I was definitely surprised by how brutal it was because I was expecting it to be much more toned down.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess I just would rather, if I'm being subjected to that, I would rather it fit in an overall package that is doing something, that is saying something a bit more. The fact that it's in this glossy Disney live action remake package is what like
Mm-hmm.
makes it so false to me.
Yeah. Interesting. I I mean that sounds right, and that almost makes it a little bit more exploitative because it's
Mhm.
trying to tone it down, but like, if you're having a severe rape scene but you have a reason for it and there's
And
there's
it's
thought behind
about
it, and
sorry.
yeah. No, yeah, what are you saying?
Well, and it's just about the crudeness. Like, it's about the cruel, like the cruelty is the point, in the way where
Yeah.
like it's not in this next movie, or it's trying not to be. Like, it's like she lives, but we're still gonna see like Ricky Lindholm's boobs like unnecessarily for almost the entire movie. Like,
Oh, Rick.
I know they look great, but
Oh,
I
that's good.
just, yeah,
That's good. Love her. She's still got a strong happening genre career right now.
absolutely she does.
I only say that because of Knives Out, but that's enough. That is enough. Did you know, and for all the horror fans listening, they'll be well aware, but for you, the main villain here, his name is Krug Stylo. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound like the name of an other horror icon that we might be familiar with?
Oh
Krug
gosh, no.
Kruger.
I get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So another the most one of the most famous Wes Craven joints, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy
Mhm.
Krueger, Krug Stylo. This is just me trying to remember a fact I heard many years ago. So if it's wrong, just give me permission to be wrong. But I believe Wes Craven was bullied by a guy named Kruger or had a bad
Mm.
relationship with someone by the name of Kruger, and just like your good friend Josh Corrin got, all the real names make it into the scripts at some point or another.
This sounds familiar to me as well. So it is possible that I either heard it on your podcast or we both heard it on another podcast. But it sounds
Well,
familiar to me too. So I'm with you.
considering you don't listen to my no, wow, that's rude. I can't get into that now. No, no, no. And how dare anyone ever, what's the word?
Reference another podcast.
No, but need someone they know to listen to their podcast because no one will ever listen to your podcast. It's kind of just how it is.
That's the rule of
Only-
podcasts.
It's the rule of podcast. The only people listening are people you've never met. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's okay. Although, weren't we in public? Was it yesterday? And I ran into someone from high school that knew about my podcast. Can you tell our listeners about that? Because that was kind of fun.
Yeah, we were having a less than successful venture to a public pool on a very hot day. And we saw someone who Josh knows from high school,
Yeah.
who he hadn't seen in a long time. And it was just one of those beautiful moments where you say hi, and then the next thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Oh my God, I hear you have an amazing podcast."
And I was like, oh, everyone's talking about my amazing podcast, are they? Maybe they're just making fun of it. How dare you make fun of my podcast?
I'm sure
Uh,
that's it.
who's Sarah Paxton and who's Martha McIsaac of the two of us?
Of the two of us.
I think I know, but I think I want you
Yeah,
to say it.
I mean,
I think it's obvious.
it's less kind to me that I'm the Sarah Paxton. It's like, what, I have
Why?
nice eyes and I can swim? Like,
And you're blonde.
and I'm blonde, but I'm already blonde.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's part of the package.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
guess.
the Martha McIsaac because I have done the after school programs at Soul Pepper in Toronto. So
Yes.
it adds up.
You're
All
a
right.
comic relief brunette.
I am a comic Yes, I am. All right, Samantha, would you mind if we get into the grand reason why we're all gathered around the campfire today? Last House on the Left, Part 2.
I would love that.
There was going to be a sequel to Wes Craven's Last House on the Left. And I think the gist of it was we were going to see the main villain, Krug Stylo or Stilo. He was going to be revived from the dead. He was going to come back from hell and he was going to stalk a summer camp. And I believe that was kind of the main gist of what one of the iterations that was going to float around out there. How do we feel about a supernatural take on this very natural story?
Well, I can see why the sequel wasn't explored beyond the script phase. I will say that. I mean, like, all of my things that I appreciated about this movie would absolutely go completely out the window with this. Like, it does not need to be yeah, of course, but it doesn't need to be that. That can be. I mean,
yes, no, I love that. I love that.
You love that? I do not.
I think that's silly. It's stupid. It's fun. It's wild. It's outrageous.
I love silly and stupid, but I don't know if I need this course killer who's not a lick of fun, who's just doing like brutal, chaotic murder. I don't know if I need him to be reanimated personally. I feel like that the whole thing of this is like the chaos of this just happening, right? And you not being able to do anything. And I feel like making it this like supernatural killer completely, it would be a completely different thing, which is I'm just glad that Wes Craven got to scratch that itch in other ways. I will say that.
I agree. Although I think, the one way it would have been successful is if they completely revamped the tone. And I don't know if that's the route that they were going to go, but we're going to get into it a little bit more right now. So yeah, the idea of a sequel was generally proposed as bringing back Krug as our lead, as our main antagonist. He was played by the great David Hess, who of course is murdered in the very final moments with a chainsaw, and it's a pretty spectacular death. And the rest of the gang are pretty much dead as well, which is going to make it difficult to bring back these villains for a sequel, but they were trying to think of ways to make it happen. So back in the 1980s, Vestron Pictures, they don't exist anymore, but they were the ones behind Last House on the Left, hired another pornography director by the name of Danny Steinmann. So this is the horror hero that also directed Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, to write and direct The Last House on the Left Part 2. Danny Steinmann, for horror fans, you guys already know, directed probably what is, for most people, the worst entry in the Friday the 13th canon. A lot of people hate Friday the 13th 5 because the ultimate twist is that it's not really Jason as the killer, it's some other dude in the Jason mask. And I think that really rubbed people the wrong way. People felt a little, I don't know, hurt by that. But I think
is that one your fave? I forget which one's your fave.
My favorite is number 6, which I do believe is actually a general favorite amongst fans. But
How unlike you.
I know. Thank you. But part 5 generally hated, and I have to say I don't like it either, and it has nothing to do with the twist ending. Personally, I don't care so much about the twist. It's just not a very well made film. Danny Steinmann, in my opinion, not so much a man of vision, but rest in peace. We're grateful for the work that you have provided us. And like Wes Craven, came from a background in pornography, so kind of an interesting, appropriate choice to continue the Last House on the Left lineage, I suppose. Um,
Indeed.
mhm. So there were a couple of concepts floating around over the years, and none of them obviously came to fruition. But there was a really interesting article from, I think, back in 2016 that on Blumhouse.com, and they had a journalist by the name of Steven Scarlatta, and he had done a piece for Last House on the Left Part 2, which is where we're going to get a lot of our information today. And there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. Something that I found interesting and I related to is one of the reasons this journalist was so fascinated with unearthing Last House on the Left Part 2 is because he had encountered promotional materials for the film, and I had as well. And so this guy, and myself as included, kind of lived a lot of our early childhood horror lives believing that Last House on the Left Part 2 did exist in some form of another, but
Oh,
ultimately it
so
does not.
funny.
Yeah, it's super mysterious, and it probably fucked with a lot of people's heads because there was no internet at the time. But Vestron put out this, I guess, like a cut down version of Last House on the Left on VHS. And at the end of it, there was like a little promo for Last House on the Left Part 2, just saying like coming
Oh,
soon or something
we
like
got a
that.
little sizzle.
We got a little bit of a sizz. And not only that, but there were like posters seen. So there were materials for this film floating around the ether. They were really intending to make it, but it just kind of never happened. In a book titled Beyond Fear, we have an interesting quote where it gave a little bit of insight to Craven's involvement with the sequel. And it said, Craven initially planned to write a sequel in which Krug and company returned from hell and resumed their killing spree, but he ultimately decided not to go there. In the book Screams and Nightmares, we have a quote that says, the director had his own idea for a sequel, which involved Krug and company coming back from hell to continue the reign of terror, but ultimately he thought people weren't quite ready for that. What do you think? What do you think audiences in the early 80s would have responded to something like that? Do you think people thought it was fun, or do you think we would have been horrified?
I mean, I guess I would say, given how the initial response for the film was, they probably were right that audiences were not ready for the comeback of Krug. Uh,
Yeah.
Although they were, obviously, in Kruger form
Mhm.
a few years later. But yeah, I think that they probably guessed right in that capacity. I don't know if we would have been, honestly, because of the same reasons that you brought up earlier. Like, this is not a charismatic, they make him a little more charismatic in the remake, I think. But this is not like a charismatic villain that you want to root for. So I think they would have had a really hard time making that transition.
It would have
Um,
been weird. I
yeah,
think a lot of people would not know what to expect with something like that. And I'm not sure if audiences would have been flocking to a sequel for this, even though the first one
exactly.
did do well. So I'm interested to know what it would have been like. There was an author by the name of Joseph Madry who had interviewed both Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham a number of times over the years, and he did get some quotes potentially about Last House 2. And there was an interesting one from Cunningham, and I mentioned earlier Cunningham is the man that was responsible for bringing us Friday the 13th.
Hmm.
And here's something he had to say about potentially bringing Krug back from hell. He said, I think we were both heavily into drugs at the time. I don't think there was any way to take that seriously. There would have been a serious consideration. Oh, there would not have been a serious consideration, at least not in the 70s, certainly. So I think this is what it's saying to me is that, like, maybe they were tossing around ideas, but it kind of sounds like some people were never really that committed to bringing a sequel to the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right. It sounds like under some substances, or on the influence of some substances, a few ideas sounded really great being tossed around, and probably, yeah, exactly as you said, about one person in that room tried to run with those ideas, and for everyone else, they just petered out right after that night.
I think so too. But as I said, they were going full hog I believe by the 80s to get a sequel done. And so I
Wow.
was talking about how there was this Vestron cassette of Last House on the Left.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so it did release a teaser trailer after the main feature. And I think you didn't see much because there was no footage actually shot, but there was a tagline. And can I read you the tagline for the tagline for The Last House on the Left Part 2, what it would have been?
Absolutely.
The house that set the standard for terror. You won't believe your eyes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm intrigued, right? So I want to know more.
I think we could have gotten a second pass on that, a second set of eyes,
And
potentially.
so the house that set the standard for terror, lowercase. You won't believe your eyes, caps. So
Wow.
what were they thinking?
You know what that reminds me of?
Mm.
On Who Weekly, the podcast,
Uh-huh.
they've been talking about Hailey Bieber, her skincare
Uh-huh.
line Rhode, which has the perplexing tagline of "one of everything, really good." And it's just that kind of disjointed certainty that I'm hearing in this Last House on the Left 2
I
tagline.
could not. Speaking of disjointed certainty,
Mhm.
uh, did you see that interview with her and Gwyneth Paltrow?
I saw parts of it, yeah.
I didn't see it. I just saw headlines, and I'm still laughing. Listen, I found Gwyneth Paltrow during
Like
what
this
was that
year?
show that I?
Oh
No, it was
no, The Politician, yes.
yeah, The Politician is what brought me and Gwyneth Paltrow together. But better late than never.
Better late than never,
Oh, and
absolutely.
it's what's his name? That's too bad that it had to be what's his name.
Ben Platt?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that Ben Platt was Ben Platt when I watched Ben Platt. You know what I mean? I think you do.
Yeah.
Craven has gone on record saying that there actually was a script that he wrote himself that little Mr. Danny Steinmann didn't like. In a book out there by the name of Last House on the Left, The Making of a Cult Classic by Mr. David A. Zuclin, we got a quote. I wrote a script for producers, and it had Krug and Weasel coming back from hell, but he decided to go in a different direction. I'm just so flabbergasted by a universe where Danny Steinmann said no to Wes Craven because you're less no, what, I'm having a stroke. You're less enmeshed into the horror world. But Danny Steinmann made one terrible film, and Wes Craven is the daddy of all horror. So how dare he? You know what I mean?
Well, maybe Steinman was in when he thought it was just Krug, but when he heard Weasel was coming back
Uh,
too, he said no, too unrealistic. I won't
no,
have it.
I can't. Absolutely not. And was the son just named Junkie? I think he might have been, but I don't know. It was
Oh,
sad that the son was on drugs.
he gets a real name in the
In the newsies, that's
yeah, yeah.
good for him. Do you want to hear some potential names for Last House on the Left Part 2?
I would love to hear some.
So, according to Steinman, there was going to be a couple of names on the docket, including Beyond the Last House on the Left and Last House on the Left too. Yeah. So, what do we think of Beyond? What do you think of Beyond the Last House on the Left? How do we feel about that?
I mean, I get adding something to before the title. Maybe they should have added something like to the end, like Last House on the Left, Around the Corner, or Last House on the Left. No, that's all I've got. I
Down the road. No,
down
that's
the
bad.
road. Last House on the Left. Go
Left
around
the
back.
right.
Going around back and leave the packages there.
Yeah. Leave the order at the door, please.
Yes, please leave a door, don't ring.
Please don't call. Thank you very much. What about Last House on the Right? What about First House on the Left?
I mean, there's so many options. I feel like Beyond is true bottom of the barrel. We've got
I like it.
3 other directions.
No, I like Beyond the Last House on the Left because it looks like you're at the end of the street. There are no more houses. I'm going in the woods.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although wasn't the sequel supposed to be at a summer camp, which would not be Beyond the Last House on the Left, unless
it's
that's where the
really
summer camp
far.
was.
Yeah, maybe it was. You don't know that it wasn't. In an interview with star David Hess, who does play Krug, he had some choice words for a couple of the different scripts that he laid his eyes on, and it made it seem like he maybe wasn't so disappointed that it never went to fruition. Can I give you the quote?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple of different scripts, and one was worse than the next. It kind of fizzled. At one time, they were going at setting it at summer camp. Danny Steinmann and I had a lot of talks about it, and we didn't want to make it a straight slasher movie. We thought that once we got on set, we could work with it and make it more interesting. After all, it would seem to me that it would be really hard to make a sequel to Last House on the Left. I mean, how are you going to make it better? Huh. Doesn't sound like he was so into it. It sounds like he signed on, though. It sounds like he was gonna get the money, honey.
Absolutely, you gotta. Okay, I have a way better pitch for this reanimated sequel. Why don't we reanimate our girlies? Who
That's so good.
Something to vindicate.
So the girl lives. So the evil woman lives. Let's say,
or they don't live. Oh, that was not what I was thinking.
No, I know that's not what you're saying.
Okay,
but this is I'm going on to your pitch.
Yes,
I'm adding.
Yes, and me.
She lives somehow. Okay, so she got away scot-free and is like
Ricky is in the woods.
In the woods, new criminals, and like has like a new set of bad people that she's around.
Okay.
They resurrect Tood and come back, and she is the target. And they go.
Yes. I love it.
I like it too.
We're passing that Bechdel test, baby.
Oh yeah, the Bechdel test off the charts. Blown it up. Yeah, I love that, Samantha. That was a great pitch. Actually, I kind of want to pitch that to the world now.
I know, me too. I'm into it.
And also, I always want to explore the woman raping men themes. No, I'm cutting that out.
Some peg raping?
Yeah, why not? It's very 2022.
I mean, the Prince William's into it, so.
Prince William's into being pegged?
Yeah, have you heard that? That's like the recent like gossip as of like this weekend is that like being pegged by like this other woman who Kate was like, it's fine, you can do this. I don't want to do it, so it's fine, but don't fall in love. And then guess what? He fell in love.
With the pegger? With Peggy Lee?
With Peggy Lee. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hot.
But yeah. I mean, it's hot for them, I guess. Yeah.
I don't want to yuck the muck. Anyway, Samantha, my beautiful friend, my wonderful collaborator, do you foresee a world? Do you envision a future where we may see a sequel to Last House on the Left?
Well, I think that we just have pitched here. We have a proof of concept. I mean,
okay, I have a title. Do you want to hear my title?
I want to hear your title.
Last House on the Left, Resurrection.
Wow, simple to the point. We got a colon in there, so we've got all the roads lead to success. Nope, that's not how that goes.
Jerome. And there's so many other wonderful resurrection horror sequels that we get to sort of live in the shadow of.
Yes,
Halloween,
family.
Alien, The Matrix, Scream the TV show. Lots of resurrections out there.
Which Richard's sister do we get in this one, though? That's my question.
So you think that there's... Wait. In a real world, in the real world where we don't exist, because we're fake, do you think we could see a sequel to Last House on the Left? Answer me honest.
No, unless it is like I mean, the 2009 remake tried to do its thing of like letting the ladies live. We're still going to rape them. We're still going to make them take their shirt off, but one of them, the most purest of them all, will live. And so I could see like that kind of thing being made again. I feel like we're kind of destined to make those mistakes again and again and again. But the only real sequel I could see is something like what we're suggesting, honestly, of like a
Mhm.
true reversal. I don't personally think like this world is one where you can resurrect this villain of Krug and make him interesting enough to sustain a franchise.
No, I agree with you. Or we could pull an I Know Each Other Summer Part 3, where Krug is now like the legend of Krug, and he's like like a visceral entity rather than no,
I love
it never
that.
no, no. I mean, it didn't
It's
work in
almost
I Know Each Other
Scream
Summer.
too, right?
Did they
Like
do that?
Scream 2022.
No, I mean like they did it in like a supernatural way.
Of course, of course.
And on that note, Samantha, my friend, if you wanted to be found, where can people maybe find you on the internet?
Well,
Mhm.
I post very irregularly, but if you do want to find me anywhere, I am at Samantha Reyes, Reyes _ on Twitter and I believe Instagram. There might not be an
Wow.
underscore on there on Instagram, but you'll figure it out.
I think they will. I believe in them. And that was our episode today, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. Happy birthday to our king. We love you, Wes. And even though I lied to you last week and I said we were going to take a break, I didn't mean it. How could I leave you? I would be so sad. We're going to be back next week with a pretty special episode, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much for listening to Development Hell. If you enjoy this podcast, then please do us a major favor of leaving us 5 stars and writing a positive review. It really makes all the difference in the world. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode of Development Hell.
Thank you for listening to the Dread Podcast Network.